In the booming Raleigh, North Carolina real estate market, builders know you're desperate, and some of them are counting on it. Raleigh and the Triangle area are continuing to see a ton of growth. People are moving here every single day, and those people have to live somewhere. Many people think choosing to buy new construction is going to be a safer bet than buying a resale home. Well, those people would most certainly be wrong. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and tell you which builders you need to avoid. And we're going to expose some of the practices that they're doing that make your life an absolute living hell if you choose to go the new construction route. Now, we need to stress that we're not calling out all builders here, just some of the builders and some of their slimy tactics. So let's get started. So the first type of builder you want to avoid are those that do an end run around your buyer agent. And what I mean by that is they try to communicate directly with you, even though you have representation. And if they're doing that, they're probably going to be trying to pull some of the tricks we're going to talk about later on in this video. So just know that if they try to go around your agent and talk directly to you, they probably are one of these bad builders you want to avoid. And so that segues into the next thing that these builders do that it's a little bit slimy, and that is put pressure on you to sign fast. This happens all the way from the first-time home builder segment of the market, all the way up to the very most luxurious builders in the market. In fact, I can think of a high-end builder off the top of my head that does this all the time. They're always pressuring buyers. You got to sign now. Someone else is looking at that lot. Someone's looking at that house we've already built. You've got to sign the paperwork now. You've got to get this house now. And what that does for you, obviously it puts you under stress, puts you under a lot of anxiety, but maybe it means that you end up buying a home that's not perfect for you. We always preach to all of our buyers that we help buy homes, especially from our YouTube channel here, that they've got to buy a house that fits all of their must-have lists, or at least a lot of their must-have lists. If you've got a builder that's pressure, trying to push you to buy a house, you may end up buying a house with the primary on the 5th floor when you want it on the 1st floor. You may buy a house that cannot have a pool in the backyard, even though you absolutely must have a house with a pool in the backyard or a pool-ready lot, that sort of thing. Don't fall for the trick of this pressure tactic. It's usually never a thing. There's usually never this other buyer out there. Take your time and just know that if you lose that house with that builder, there's likely another house with another builder somewhere down the road that's going to be a better fit for you anyway. The next one they do is also putting pressure on you, and that's to get going after you have a lot hold. So let me explain. Lot hold is where you put money down to hold a lot, to evaluate, to decide if you want to build on that lot and which plan you're going to build, or if you're buying and building custom, you literally could be starting with a blank piece of paper and you're designing that house. They're going to put pressure on you sometimes, some of these slimy builders, to get going with the project fast. And the reason they're doing that is because they want you to build on their schedule, not your schedule. This goes back to that must-have list we talked about a minute ago. You want to design the home that's perfect for you. We're helping a very nice couple build a home in Wexford in Wake Forest right now. The process has gone so smoothly, it's been amazing, but our buyers need a specific type of home. They want 2 offices downstairs, and the pressure was on them for a little bit of time to get going with the house and put one of the offices upstairs, and they didn't want to do that. And I held my guns as well. We got the plan redrawn. It's perfect now. They're so happy, but I can imagine if they didn't have our help designing that house and holding to their must-have and nice-to-have lists, they might very well have ended up with a house that they weren't really happy with. And this one, of course, segues into a huge story. We helped a couple build a multi-million-dollar house a few years ago. They had a very specific design request list that they had. They were from out of state. The builder and the designer that the builder used did a little bit of an end run around us, did not allow us to be part of the process, and unfortunately also mistakes made. The buyer felt like they didn't want to bother us to be part of the process, that it was just going to be taking up a lot of our time because the process was going to be pretty simple. Anyway, the designer sort of pushed their influence on this buyer, and this buyer was out of state, so they weren't there every single day. The designer made a lot of decisions without really strong input from both the buyers and from us. And unfortunately, the buyers ended up with a home they weren't thrilled with. There were a lot of things about the home design-wise that they just didn't really care for, and it left a really bad taste in their mouth. So don't let this happen to you. Learn from that and make sure that you stick to your guns, you include your agent in on the process, and if the builder is kind of pushing you to do something or the designer is pushing you to do something, tell them, no, you work for me, I don't work for you. The next kind of builder you want to avoid is the builder who doesn't want you to have your own buyer representation. And for a lot of people out there, they think having a buyer agent for new construction is a waste of time and a waste of money. And actually, for about 99% of the time, the builder's gonna pay your agent anyway, so it isn't a waste of your money. But just know that this is a big warning sign. They are going to be trying to do a lot of these pressure tactics we talked about earlier, and some of the other ones we're gonna talk about later on in this video, if they try to push you to not have your own agent. There is a well-known national builder who builds in our marketplace, who actively discourages buyers from using a buyer agent. And they do it for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is they want to get you to do upgrades in the design center. They want to pressure you to move along on their pace. They want to deal with your inspector or not deal with your inspector. And we're going to go over all of these a little bit later on. But just know that these are builders you want to avoid, whether you use a buyer agent or not. And again, I strongly encourage you to use a buyer agent because they're going to be an advocate for you, especially if you're from out of state and you don't know the area, or worse yet, you live out of state and you're trying to build a home remotely. That buyer agent is going to be invaluable to you. But if you have a builder who is pushing you to not have a buyer agent, then that is a builder you probably want to avoid. The next kind of builder you need to avoid is the take it or leave it builder. These are the kind of builders that give the air of like going into a really high-end retail establishment or a high-end hotel where they act like they're too good for you and that they have this take it or leave it attitude. There are builders that are like this in our marketplace and really all over the country. They're really arrogant. They make you believe that there's no room to negotiate off their price and that you have to basically take what they give you. And that's absolutely not the case. Dakota from our team had one of our YouTube clients that he was out showing houses to, and he has been selling real estate for so long and has been selling new construction real estate for so long that he was able to identify a particular builder that was winding down a neighborhood and likely was going to be willing to give a stronger incentive than what they claimed publicly they were willing to do. The representative for the builder said, nope, this is the price, take it or leave it. Dakota went back and said, we want you to give an incentive to these clients of, I believe it was like $15,000 off the house or closing costs or whatnot. The builder representative said, there's no way the builder is going to take that. They're not going to do that. You're wasting your time. Dakota stuck to his guns and he said, no, present that offer to the builder. Your neighborhood is almost done. They're wanting to get out of here. And so the builder representative begrudgingly presented that to the builder. And guess what? The builder took it. Dakota got $15,000 or so off that house that a regular person walking into that house would have never gotten. Dakota got that deal done because he knew the market, he knew the neighborhood, he knew it was winding down, and he had sold quite a few homes in that neighborhood. So they knew him. They knew that we were going to be bringing a good buyer to the table who was going to close on time and all of those sort of things. And so Dakota was able to get that incentive done. So when you have one of those take it or leave it builders, you may want to just move along. The next kind of builder you want to avoid, and this one is really popping up lately as builders try to cut costs, and these are builders that do not include the steering wheel. And what I mean by that is you, especially if you've bought a house in the past, you kind of have an expectation of what a builder is going to provide you. They're going to have decent landscaping. They're going to have overhead lights, or at least the option to add overhead lights. They're going to have the ability to put on a porch. They're going to have quality materials they build a house with. And unfortunately, not all builders do this. There are builders in our marketplace who are using cardboard to build the walls. There are builders in our marketplace who put in like minimal landscaping, that put in just a few little rods in the closets. And these are of high-end homes. These are builders who use off-the-shelf doorknobs in multi-million dollar homes. There are builders who have no drawers in the primary suite bathroom. We had clients just recently who bought a home. They looked at the previous homes that were built, the model, whatever, and it was a normal bathroom. There were drawers in the vanity. Well, they got their house built. The day of closing, they come in to do a final walkthrough and they realize there are no drawers. It's just doors, like apartment would have. These are things builders do that you need to absolutely watch out for. It's stuff that it stuns you because you were just not prepared for this sort of thing to happen. Another story I would love to share, a client a few years back went looking in a neighborhood from a national builder with us. We went looking at the product and the back door, I will never forget this. This was a townhome community. The client wanted a sliding door. We get underway building this house and come to find out the builder switched out sliding door for a single opening door with a solid glass panel beside it. Totally not what the client wanted. The builder representative and the builder made no mention of this until it was too late, that they had switched this out to save money. So be aware that if you have a builder that's pulling this stunt, this might not be a builder you want to work with. The next kind of builder you probably want to avoid are builders that have contracts that are very slanted in their favor and allow them to be really loosey-goosey with a lot of things, like when your home is due to be done. We had a buyer 3, 4, 5 years ago. They were interested in buying in a new construction neighborhood. Luckily, they had us advocating for them. We always make it a priority to read over contracts before you sign the contract. And buried deep in the contract, it said builder has up to 3, not months, years, 3 years to build this home. These clients needed to be in their home in 6 months. They couldn't wait 3 years. The builder representative could not guarantee that, although they could promise 6 months and hope for 6 months, they couldn't expect and plan that 6 months was going to be the date. And so we had to walk away from that house and find another builder that didn't have that crazy clause in their contract. Just be aware that all builder contracts are slanted towards the builder, but some of them are slanted to the extent of being slimy. And those are builders you're going to really want to avoid. The next kind of builder you want to avoid are arrogant builders. And this especially happens in the high-end luxury market. These builders are really arrogant. They don't let you make decisions even though they promise you the moon and the stars on the front end. And again, this happens unfortunately on the high end of the market. Just know that buying a house, building a house is stressful enough without a builder kind of imposing his or her will on you. You want to have an enjoyable process where the builder works for you and does what needs to be done to get you the home of your dreams, because you're paying for the home. You should get the home you want. This can be a really stressful process, and that's why it's so important to have buyer representation. Our team takes the stress off for our clients. We certainly could do the same for you. If you're worried about hiring one of these bad builders we're talking about today, your first call needs to be to us so we can get you started on the process of finding the right builder that has the right terms with the right features for you. Contact us at the information below and we can set up a video call to get things started with you. So we've talked about arrogant builders. The other kind of builder you want to absolutely avoid are the builders who don't want you to do a home inspection. And this happens a lot with those builders that don't want you to have a buyer representative to help you. And the reason they don't want you to do inspections is because they don't want you to find things that they're going to have to fix later on. For example, they may use shoddy materials when building your home, such that there may be a crack in one of the studs that's supporting a load-bearing wall inside your home. That's something you would never ever know if you hadn't done a pre-drywall inspection, where an inspector comes in, examines the house at the pre-drywall stage and says, wait, that stud is defective. We need to replace that out to keep this wall from falling in 10 years or so. An unscrupulous builder is going to encourage you to not do an inspection or push the process along and forget to tell you about the pre-drywall inspection window. This is something that happens quite often. And again, this is why a really good buyer agent is going to stay on things and hound the devil out of builders. There's some builders who either try to avoid the whole process or give literally a 48-hour window that you and your buyer representative can get an inspection done at the pre-drywall stage. And this is again where a good buyer agent can track that and be very, very aware and have the inspector on alert so that they can pounce and get out there the day that they're able to get out there. Typical builders not wanting you to be there. You're an inconvenience to them to hold up the process by a day, day and a half to build the home, to do a drywall inspection, plus you may find something. Just know these are builders you're gonna wanna avoid. And again, these builders are typically the builders that don't want you to have a buyer agent because you may not know about the pre-drywall stage, or they may minimize the inspections. And then you end up with a house that's got problems down the road and the builder's long gone, it's past the warranty, you have to deal with it yourself. And you could be out thousands of dollars down the road on something the builder could have fixed for $10 at the pre-drywall stage. The next builder you most likely want to avoid are the ones that do the model home trick. And this is where they show you a model home. These are usually the national builders. Most of the small independent guys don't really have model homes per se, but they show you a model home and it's dolled up. It looks amazing and you fall in love. Studies show that whatever the model home is for a neighborhood, that home gets built more than anything else in that neighborhood because people see it, they walk through it, they imagine themselves living there, and then they want to build it. So one of the bad things that these unscrupulous builders do is they put amazing features in these homes. They put quartzite countertops when you can only have like a low grade granite. They put amazing paint colors that you can only have builder beige paint colors. They put amazing whatever in the home and then you can't have that. Basically, they do all of these amazing things that you can't even pay for upgrades, and they do that to wow you through the process. And it's really, really slimy, and it gets people really, really emotionally attached to a home and thinking things look really great. And then when they finally get to the point of buying the home for themselves, they're disappointed because your home, their home, doesn't look anything like the model home. So one way to avoid this is, yes, go to the model home, feel yourself living in that space, but then go to another version of that home that's been built down the street or in another neighborhood. So for example, they have, and I'm gonna make this up, the Camilla plan, and you go in the Camilla model and you fall in love with it. Don't just buy the home based on that model. Go see a Camilla that's been built down the street. And I don't know if there's a Camilla being built in town. I'm making that name up. So don't think I'm talking about any builder in particular, but go down to street in that neighborhood and find a Camilla, or go to Fuquay Varina or Pittsboro or Youngsville or wherever you need to go to find another Camilla that you can walk through to see what the builder builds as their basic plan. So you're not surprised when you are ready to move into your Camilla and find out it doesn't look anything like that model home. The next builder you want to avoid, and we've kind of touched on this a little bit, are the builders that rush you through the building process, where they are building the house really, really fast. You're thinking, how is this house like dirt right now? No, nothing, not even foundation. And they're going to be done in 2 months. That's kind of scary. There are builders that do this, and they're generally the builders that don't build a very good home. Now, I will say there are clients that we had about a year and a half ago where the home was dirt and they promised the home was going to be done in 3.5, 4 months. I was very suspicious that they would make that date. They made that date. We had a pre-drywall inspection. We had a regular inspection just before moving in. Guys, I was shocked. I felt bad that our clients paid for these inspections because there was nothing to find. It was like a one-page inspection. This builder did such a great job building this home efficiently and quickly and promptly that our clients were able to move into the home when they wanted to move into that home, and there wasn't anything wrong with it. The inspector found nothing. I was shocked, but that is the exception, not the norm. Typically, when you have a builder that's like rush, 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 they're usually going to be a little shoddy in the process. Now, the other kind of builder you want to avoid is the exact opposite of that. Those are builders that build really, really slowly, or almost to the point of being incompetent. We had a buyer probably 6 years ago that built a home in Wendell. Super nice family, out of the area, moving in. They found us from our YouTube channel, loved them, great, great people, but they had this builder that we found after looking around for a good builder that was out in more of a rural area. They wanted a big piece of land, but so this neighborhood had acre lots, acre and a half lots. The builder promised us the moon and the stars, everything great, but they took forever to build this home. It was like not a huge home. It was like 2,000 square feet. And as I recall, it was like 6-month build on a home that should have taken 4 months. We typically on our team go regularly to the job site and see the progress of how things are going. And as I recall, we went out to this job site and it was way behind schedule. We talked to neighbors who were there, like getting their home built as well, and their home was way behind schedule. It was frightening. And it was that the subcontractors were just not showing up when they were supposed to be there. And our clients were like due to be in town in a month. So we had to like throw a fit and push the builder along. And it was literally that the builder was painting the inside of the house the day before closing. They were working in the yard the day of closing. The list of we promise you that the builder typically does for a buyer, and it's usually 1 or 2 items like a window that was cracked and was on order. This promise you list was like a book. Thankfully, everything got handled. We had to do a lot of pushing and shoving and screaming and cajoling after closing, but everything got done for our client. But it was crazy. This builder was so slow. Fortunately, only sold 1 home of theirs since because we're just so scared that our clients are going to end up homeless. The next kind of builder you want to avoid are the builders that give you a super low price for the home and then they nickel and dime you on upgrades. This is sort of very similar to that builder that won't give you the steering wheel with the home, where they end up with a really low price and it's like suspiciously low. Like they're like competitors are here and they're here. That's just kind of crazy. Those are the builders you want to sort of do research on, Better Business Bureau type research to determine what exactly is going on, because those are never really good. You end up where you buy a home for say $400,000 when it should be $550,000, and then you end up having to do upgrades either after closing or pay for upgrades with the builder that are highly inflated so that you have to pay for a door. I'm joking, not a door, but you get my point. And it ends up where after you pay for the upgrades, instead of paying $550,000 for that home, you've ended up paying $600,000. Avoid these type of builders. They're the bait and switch builders. They do everything they can to entice you to come in with an offer that's too good to be true. And guess what? It is usually too good to be true. Again, not meaning to beat a dead horse, but this is another example of how you need to hire your own buyer representation who knows the marketplace, who know the builders, and can say that builder is a bait and switch builder, probably not a good builder to work with. On our team, we call them preferred builders. These are builders we prefer not to work with because they're slimy, they do bait and switch, and they do some of these other things we've talked about in this video. The next kind of builder you want to avoid are the builders that try to get you to do upgrades at the design center. I've told this story multiple times on this channel and on these videos. We had clients back probably 15, 20 years ago that were buying in a first-time home community out near the airport, and they got to the design center before we did, and they had, let's just call it a $300,000 home. Probably back then it was a $150,000 home, but they had like a $300,000 home, very nice home as the basic home. The design center people had them with like $200,000 worth of upgrades. Literally like Corinthian leather wallpaper and gold fountains. I'm being facetious, but you get my point. Like crazy, crazy upgrades that you put in a multi-million-dollar home. I had to say, whoa, guys, wait. You are never going to get this money out of this first-time home buyer home by putting $200,000 worth of upgrades in. It will not come out. The design center person was shooting me like laser daggers because their profit margin for that builder was all predicated on what they made off this design center. So you want to avoid these type of design centers situations where they do slimy stuff like this. A good design center is going to do the following. They're going to set up a time with your agent and you to go into the design center. You're going to either make selections and say, I want this countertop and not this countertop, and I'm done. Or you're going to go in and say, okay, I'm not sure how much I want to spend. Let's just pick a bunch of stuff and then we're going to have a grand total at the bottom and then start modifying off of that. The bad builders aren't going to do that. They're going to talk you into that and give you a small window that you have to make a decision and rush you through it. And it's just a big disastrous process so that you end up overpaying. The good designers are going to give you your time, let you think it over, make changes, and then you end up with the home of your dreams. Again, great reason to have an agent who's going to be there as a sounding board to say, you don't need Corinthian leather wallpaper in this house. This is a $200,000 house. You need nice paint, not $50,000 worth of leather wallpaper. And along these lines, the next kind of builder you want to avoid are the builders that proclaim great incentives, when in actuality, they're relatively tiny incentives. And this sort of goes along with that design center thing. David on our team had clients that came to us from our YouTube channel here that he was showing homes to with a national builder, good builder, not faulting the builder, but they preached that they were giving an amazing incentive package. And it was like $20,000 in design center rebates. And that sounds really, really great. Except when the clients and David got to the design center, they realized that $20,000, because of the inflated cost of things at the design center, the $20,000 was a drop in the bucket. They ended up with like an extra $100,000 in upgrades. This is something you want to kind of avoid. Sometimes you can't avoid it based on the builder, but you want to kind of be looking out for builders who are going to inflate prices in the design center and make your incentives that they drug you in with not really be all that substantial. The next kind of builder you want to avoid are builders who stop at the back door. And by that, I mean they spend all of your money on the interior of the home. They have some decent sod out front, but then they cheap out in the backyard. They maybe throw seed and straw down. They don't even put a patio out there. We've seen where they literally don't even put the concrete pad. They just have like wood stairs going down into your grass backyard. This type of builder is not doing you any kind of service. They may be spending all your money inside. Most people want to have a backyard. They want to have a decent backyard. And so they need to be budgeting properly for a screen-in porch or at least a patio of some kind. There are a good number of bad builders out there that don't do that. They just put the wood steps down and leave it to your devices to deal with the backyard. These are builders you want to avoid because you're going to end up spending many thousands of dollars getting that backyard to look like you wanted it to look, as opposed to it being budgeted into the house like it should have been with most every other builder out there. The next kind of builder you want to avoid are builders with bad reviews. As you're going through this process and deciding which builder you want to work with, pay special attention to their reviews online. If they're getting 1 star because they're doing some of these slimy things that we've talked about here in this video today, those may be builders you want to avoid. Now, I must give a huge caveat here. A national builder is just as good as their name. There are some builders in our marketplace who do a great job in this neighborhood and do a terrible job in that neighborhood. And it doesn't have to do necessarily with the name, the national builder name. It has everything to do with who's actually doing the building, the general contractor, main builder on site. We've had really, really great luck working with Builder A in Wendell. They do an amazing job. The builder's communicative. They keep us in the loop. They build the homes on time. They're great homes, no problems. And then the same exact nameplate, Builder A, is building over in Durham, let's say, or Pittsburgh or Youngsville, wherever. And they're building a terrible home. That doesn't necessarily mean the builder, Builder A, is a horrible builder. Instead, that means that the guy on the ground or lady on the ground building over here in Pittsburgh is a horrible builder. You need to have your own representation, again, with someone who is a good real estate agent who has sold a lot of houses, like the agents on our team, who can say, yes, Builder A is a decent builder when you're buying over here. They're a terrible builder when you're buying over here because Johnny the builder is not as good as Sally the builder over here. So this is kind of one of those granular things that's really hard to know. But again, it's why an experienced agent that you have on your side that you hire can be invaluable. So these are just some of the things you need to watch out for when you're selecting your builder. The last thing you want to do is have a builder that you're working with and get very, very deep in the process only to learn that they're one of these bad builders. The best thing you can do to protect yourself is, again, hire an experienced real estate agent like our team. We help clients all the time coming from our YouTube channel to buy homes in the Raleigh area, and we can certainly help you as well. Contact us at the information below. We will set up a video call with you to make sure we find you the ideal home with the ideal builder on your ideal time frame. Check out this video as well. We think you're gonna really like this one as well. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.